What up, y'all? It's DJ Envy.
And I am Gia Casey.
And this is another edition of the KC Crew.
Welcome.
Now, today we got a special guest joining us a little bit later. She goes by the name of Vivian Billings. Some of you might know her from as Gossip Viv, and we'll talk about her and her story and everything that's going on with her a little bit later.
Yes, we're very glad to welcome her here today.
Now, we got to say happy birthday to Maddie Chu.
Yes, happy birthday to my baby.
She turned 16.
Yes.
So she's a grown woman, but my baby.
No, she's not a grown woman.
What is she?
She's a big girl.
A big girl?
She's a big girl.
But she's my little girl always, so happy birthday to her. We had a nice little fun time. She got some Chick-fil-A after school. Mm-hmm. And then after we got Chick-fil-A.
It was actually her best friend's idea. Mm-hmm. We're going to be celebrating again towards the end of the week, and her best friend has something planned for her at that time, but she wanted to do something special for the day of her birthday.
Right.
So while she was at school, she had 15 random people give Madison a different card, one after the other at different points throughout the day. And then Madison's like, okay, where's my 16th card? Because obviously that was going to come from her bestie.
Correct.
And she said, don't worry, you'll get it when it's time. So she called me the night before and she said, I want to give Madison Chick-fil-A for her birthday, because that's Madison's favorite thing to eat.
Right.
So I said, but how are you going to get it to her immediately after school? And she said, I'm going to jet to Chick-fil-A, which is about 30 minutes from our house,
right,
and then jet back. I said, but we have to leave the house at 3:30 because we have things planned for her. And she said, I'm going to make it happen. I said, okay, you relax. What I'll do is I'll have Rashawn pick it up for her after work and then bring it. We'll smuggle it to you, and then you can bring it to the house.
I love the fact that you just donate my time without even talking
It's
to
for
me.
the happiness of our baby. Of course I'm going to donate your time. So you went and got the Chick-fil-A.
I did.
We smuggled that. We smuggled another cake because we celebrated the day before with her grandparents. Mm-hmm. Then we really celebrated at midnight. Then we celebrated when she woke up in the morning. Then she had her school celebration because we sent balloons and flowers and all types of
50
things.
balloons to the school. And 2 dozen roses.
And she thought that was, pretty much it for the time being. And then she almost was in tears. Her best friend brought about 5 or 6 more friends to the house after school with more surprises and more balloons and the Chick-fil-A. And we brought out a cake for her and sang happy birthday. So she was really blown away.
Right.
Yes.
Your daughter's a little bit of a weirdo, too.
What do you mean by that? If she is, she gets it honestly.
From you?
From you.
Because she wanted a ukulele.
She really wanted a ukulele. But she's a musical child.
I didn't know what the fuck a ukulele was.
That didn't surprise. Spell ukulele.
I don't. Ukulele. I have no ukulele. I don't know. Because I called a couple of stores and nobody sells ukulele.
But you know what's funny? When I told you she wanted a ukulele, you kept brushing me off.
Right, because I was like, nobody wants a damn ukulele.
I said,
like,
Rashawn, it's a very inexpensive, easily attained instrument. Go to the music store and get her a ukulele. You're like, yeah, whatever. Who the hell wants a ukulele? I said, she really wants you. What does she want with the ukulele? I'm not getting no damn. I'm like, it's what she wants. Just accommodate. You didn't get the ukulele until the day before her birthday.
I did. I'm not gonna lie, because I heard her mention it again. I was like, I'm gonna go get this damn ukulele.
It's the only thing that she wants. It's the only thing that she asked for. Can you believe that? A 16-year-old girl, she didn't ask me for shoes, bags, jewelry, nothing. She wanted a musical instrument.
But I'm tired of this ukulele already.
I'm a little tired of the ukulele.
Every time we come in the house, it's like we're in the Caribbean now. It was like we're in Hawaii. I'm like, all right, enough of this shit. This ukulele shit is pissing me off.
So we gave her presents at midnight. Mm-hmm. So we went in her room, we woke her up, we dragged her out of bed, more balloons, more little sweet surprises. And Rashawn came down the hallway playing the ukulele. She was up till about 3:30 in the morning playing the ukulele.
I know, she's really...
And she's not trained, but she's very musically inclined. So she's able to... that's not true, though. But she's able to figure things out on her own.
Correct.
So she went to bed at about 3:30 and then had to wake up at 6 o'clock for school. So she was really into her instrument.
Right. Now, if you're just joining the podcast, she did not want a Sweet 16. I think we talked about it a couple of episodes ago. She did not want a Sweet 16. She did not want a party, which broke my heart because now I'm in a place where I actually know people. Like I know artists. Like I can ask an artist to come.
Yes.
And she doesn't want that. She wants to go away with her family.
About 8 months ago, Rashawn started planning her Sweet 16.
I even called MTV.
In his head.
I was like, well, we're going to do my Super Sweet 16.
Well, yeah, no, actually MTV called us because they're rebooting the show and they knew that Madison was turning 16. So they asked us if we would like to.
And I was all the way in.
To highlight her party. And Rashawn was like, oh, we can have this artist. We can have that artist. We can have it here.
Fireworks.
We could fly her in on a this. And we could,
skydive.
We could lower her down on a rope onto the dance floor from the sky. We can have the ceiling open up. We can do all of these things. You were more than ready. And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
I said, we really have to start planning that early. So then when we started talking to her about it, she said, but I don't really want.
I just want to go away with my family. I said, all right.
She's not.
Take your ukulele and.
The thing about Madison is she's not the type of person that likes to be the center of attention.
Correct.
Anything that will draw attention to her, she typically shies away from. She'll like her occasional nice thing. There might be something that she sees that she says, oh, I like that. And even in those moments, it'll surprise me because she's just happy with very, very simple things.
Correct.
And when she said that she didn't want a big, like mind-blowing Sweet 16, I wasn't really surprised. Were you surprised?
No, I wasn't really surprised.
So we said to her, and like Rashawn said, we said this in a previous podcast, but the conversation went like this, I said, well, if you don't want a Sweet 16, we will take you to anywhere in the world that you would like to go.
Right.
And we'll spend a good amount of time there and it'll give you the opportunity to extend your travels and to be more worldly. I said, but if we're going to do that, just make sure that it's a place that is unique, especially in the sense that you may not have the opportunity to travel there again. So we visited a lot of different ideas and, I made a lot of different suggestions and everything sounded great. But ultimately, she also wanted to have fun. So she likes tropical places. She likes the beach. She likes the scenery. She likes to take pictures and save them and things of that nature. So we wound up deciding that we're going to take her to Bora Bora. Right. That's where she wanted to go. And personally, I was kind of thinking jackpot.
Because that's where you want to go.
I've always wanted to go there.
I was thinking more like Miami.
No, you weren't thinking no damn Miami.
Orlando.
Disney. I was thinking Singapore, Bali, Thailand, South Africa, Iceland. But
Virginia Beach.
But we decided to go to French Polynesia. So a lot of people don't really know where that is, but
I don't know where it is either. I just know it takes like a 20-hour flight.
It's about a 16-hour flight.
From LA?
No, it's not 16 hours from LA. I believe it's 16 hours from here.
Oh.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to break up the trip. We're going to take her to LA for 2 days and do some girl things there. And then we're going to fly into Tahiti.
Right.
And then take a small plane to the island of Tetiaroa.
Gotcha.
And that's a private island that's owned by a resort. And the resort that we're going to be staying at is called the Brando. So we're going to be there for a number of days, and then we're going to take a flight to Bora Bora, and then we're going to stay somewhere else there, and then we're going to take her to Tahiti and stay there. So
it should be a lot of fun.
So that's how we're going to celebrate her birthday. So she gets a little bit of everything.
And then, the other day, Monday was her birthday. We also took a helicopter ride around the city, which was the dopest shit ever. Like, this is my first time on a helicopter. I was scared of helicopters. In my video feature Fetty Wap, I was in a helicopter, but we just went up and down.
Right, just for the sake of the shot.
Right, but now I had to get on this shit that I was scared of because I thought helicopters are, not stable. They're going to be rocking, and I was kind of nervous, I ain't gonna lie, but it was a smooth ride. We went all through the city. We seen, up close and personal with the Statue of Liberty. The World Trade, Empire State. All the bridges,
Freedom
Times
Tower.
Square, Central Park. It was. We had a great time. It was a great birthday, and
are you surprised she did it?
I feel like it was my birthday.
Are you surprised that she did it?
She's been coming out of her shell, her scared shell.
Yeah.
We've
shared with you guys how safety prone she is.
Yeah, so she's been going to haunted houses recently.
She's becoming a big girl.
Now, I don't know if she's going to get on a slingshot at Great Adventure, though. But
she probably won't do that.
No, but you know what? Let me shout out the people at the helicopter place because they were so nice and
they
so
were
cool. So let me shout them out.
Nice. We missed a shot because we were so busy, paying attention to the scenery that we missed some shots. And he's like, "Oh, do you want us to turn back around so you can get your pictures?"
Yeah, he turned back around, which was dope.
Yeah.
So shout to Titan Aviation.
Mm-hmm. Dirk.
That's Dirk from there, and shout to Mark.
Dirk and Mark.
Yes, yeah, because last name is Sissik. But shout out to both of those guys.
I think it's spelled CICC.
Yeah, how do you pronounce that?
I don't know. I'm not gonna. You ain't gonna have me sounding crazy.
See, exactly.
I don't know how to pronounce CICC. I don't see the reason why there would be two C's at the end. But
all right, well, shout out to both of them because they made the experience
Titan Aviation.
Amazing.
Yes.
All right, well, let's get into our first guest.
All right.
And welcome, Miss Vivian Billings.
Oh, my God.
Welcome.
The government name again.
Well, you're an author now, so I have to say Vivian Billings.
Okay.
Now, the reason that I wanted her on the show today is because we talk about relationships a lot, and we also talk about kids and raising kids. And when I heard Vivian's story, I thought it was such a real story because if we were in that situation, or if I was in that situation, I don't necessarily know how I would handle it as well. I would say, well, I would handle it like this, but I don't know. So if you don't know, Vivian has... Explain your story, because Vivian, you're a foster mom.
Right.
And I didn't know what a foster mom was at first. I know,
they killed you in the comments.
I know. I didn't know what a foster mom... I know, I never been to a foster house. Foster mom, I thought it was a place where the foster kids are, and there's the lady that runs it, and they call her the foster mom. That's what I thought. I don't know.
But I'm sure that there are a lot of people like you that probably don't know exactly what that situation is about. So can you explain?
Well, I have my own kids. I have 6 of my own biological kids.
She beat us by 1, babe.
Okay.
And then on top of that, I'm a foster mom. So basically that's just children who have been abused or neglected, and the state takes them away from their parents, and they have nowhere else to go. There's no next of kin. There's no other family member that's willing to take them. So they put them up for foster care until their biological parents can kind of get can I curse?
Yeah.
Kind of get their shit together, and then they can get them back. But it's like a rigorous program. But until the parents, get those things in order, I raise them like my own kids. They have their own bedroom.
Wow.
I make breakfast. I send them to school or the daycare. It just varies.
So with 6 children of your own, what made you want to take on that type of obligation?
Well, I love children. I really do. And my two oldest, they're grown. They're in their mid-20s. They have their own place.
She had one at 14 and one at 16.
Oh, wow.
Right. So my oldest, Marquise, still lives in New York. Him and his girlfriend, they have good jobs. They live together. And then Kamal, he has his own place. He lives in North Carolina. He has a great job, better than mine. His own spot. So they're doing great. So I have, I'm not as blessed as y'all, but I'm blessed, to have certain finances and to have a certain kind of house. So we have the extra room, and it's why not give back?
You might be more blessed being able to do such a service for other people. Like, blessings come in 1,000 different ways.
Right.
You seem very, very blessed.
Now the reason I wanted her up here was her son Kamal was born a female.
Okay.
Was born a female, and I guess Kamal felt that he wasn't right as a female. Is that what he said?
Yeah, that's safe to say that.
Now, how was that initial conversation? Because the first thing I thought was growing up, and this is going to sound crazy, did Kamal play with dolls, because that's the first thing a dad wants to see is their boy playing with dolls. They'll take the dolls away, Is the boy playing with mommy's high heel shoes, or is he playing with makeup? How was Kamal growing up?
Kamal was very tomboyish. I had my own idea as a mom. So, when they're little, you dress them how you want them to look.
Right.
So it was always pink dresses, cute. Because back when she was a she, beautiful hair, beautiful, I'm mixed. At the time she was, when she was a she, she's mixed, she has Jamaican in her. So she, to me, was just so beautiful. Right. So I would buy her the dolls. I would, do all these things. But she gave me a hard time about that. She would rip her dresses off, throw on pants.
At what age?
I would say it started about 8.
Okay.
About 8 years old. And she didn't want Barbie dolls. She wanted Transformers. She wanted to do everything my oldest son did, Marquise, playing dirt. But, you know, as she started to get older, like, you know, she has a shape. Like, she started developing this and that. And so it was difficult because I wasn't understanding. And I was still trying to keep her the way I wanted her to be.
Of course.
So now at first, did you think, okay, well, my daughter's a lesbian?
No, at first, no. I just, because I had my time when I was little with, you know, the baggy clothes.
You probably just thought she was a tomboy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm rough around the edges. I'm not like a, you know, like
girly girl?
I'm not a girly girl, but I love men. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it was like,
oh, maybe that's what it is.
She's like me, you know, like she'll grow out of it at some point.
So now it got to the point where you realized that she did not want to be a girl anymore. What was that realization? What was that conversation, and how did that even transpire?
Okay, so how the conversation happened was I was talking to my grandmother, and we were in the kitchen, and we were talking about somebody in the neighborhood who had found out their daughter was gay, but they didn't find out through their daughter. They found out like through the streets. Like, your daughter is, you know, cutting school, and I see her over here with the girl. And so she was heartbroken. So I always felt like, I don't want to hear that from the streets. I want to hear from my kids. If you got something going, I want to know about it. Because that's, like, to me, the worst thing, to hear it from somebody else and not the source.
Correct.
So I guess in eavesdropping that conversation I'm having with my grandmother, Kamal walks in and was like, well, I want to tell you something. You know, I want to tell you that I'm gay. And I was fine. For some reason, I kind of knew. At this point, it was like...
How old was she at that point?
15.
Okay.
And I kind of knew. Because it was like, you still in baggy clothes.
Okay.
You know, like you're not trying to be any kind of girl at this point. And not for nothing, being that I had my first child at 14, I already knew what I had. You know, I may not have been totally developed in the brain up there. You know what I'm saying? But I knew the power that women possessed with men at a very young age.
Right.
And Kamal was not exuding that.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, this is not something that she's outgrowing. You know what I mean?
So when you said she walks in and y'all start to have a conversation, what was that conversation? What did she say?
Oh, she was saying, she was like, you know, Mommy, I want you to know that I'm gay and I like girls. And I remember looking at her and I was like, I know. And she was shocked. Like, and I left it like it was a normal thing to say. And I kept talking to my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I didn't
Very
want to
nice.
make it like a big deal.
Yes.
Like, it's not a big deal. You good.
So when she came and said that she was gay, you were cool with that? You were okay?
I was fine.
You were fine with that?
I was absolutely fine with that.
Now, when did she want to go from a female to become a male and start that process? Like, when did you start having that conversation?
You know what's so crazy is that I didn't even know that's what, at the time, again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but back when she was a she, I didn't find out about that until 18. And unfortunately, I didn't even know that's what she wanted to do. It wasn't until we started filming for Gossip Game that whole thing came to light. You know what I'm saying? And I was forced to deal with that. And I was like, that's not something I'm cool with. We're not doing that.
So how did you come to know that? Was it a conversation?
No, what happened was there was a part in Gossip Game where, and I'm not going to say anybody's name because they are irrelevant in my life, but a specific female who used to work at Power 105, who used to work at Hot 97, had an issue with me. And instead of keeping her issue with me, she felt like she needed to bring my child into the mix and say, well, Vivian should know about being gay because her daughter's gay. And so that's how the topic came up. So when I had the conversation with my daughter at the time and I said, listen, somebody said something about you. This is going to go on national TV. And I want you to know I'm going to handle this. And that's where the conversation came up. Well, she's talking about somebody that ain't me. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she was like, no, she's talking about a daughter. I'm not your daughter. I'm your son. And I was like, what in the hell are you talking? Like, I didn't understand it. I'm like, what are you talking about?
At this point, did she look like a male?
Yeah.
Completely.
Like, beautiful hair, cut off.
Okay.
Baggy clothes, that was the norm.
So her appearance was that of a male.
Right. But I just thought it was like a butch thing.
Okay.
You know, like, I don't know.
I understand.
Like an AG girl. That's what they call it. An AG girl.
An AG girl. Now, when it got to the point where she wanted, is it testosterone?
Yeah.
Now, she wanted to really start the process of really transforming to a male. And you had that conversation. Now, how did you deal with that?
I was in denial. And in my head, I was like, you can say whatever you want. Mommy's gonna block that. Like, I'm Muslim. I just don't believe that I just feel like if you feel like you like women, go ahead and do it. Be happy. But now you starting to mess with what God created. And that's where my problem lied. And so that was my struggle with it.
I see.
And so with that, when the whole testosterone thing came along, I was like, you ain't doing no testosterone because you still 18 and I got to approve of that till you 21. And so that ain't happening. And so what happened was she would go behind my back and go to this counseling service and see doctors who had already given her the prescription, because if you're 18, they don't have to consult the parent.
And what about insurance?
She had her own insurance.
She had her own insurance. Oh, okay.
She had her own insurance. And so they were like, all right, we're going to give you the prescription. And she went and filled it. And they said, because it's testosterone, it was literal injections. It's a liquid, and needles come and everything. And it's like, if you have diabetes and you have to shoot yourself, that's kind of what, how you do with the testosterone. And, I was like, when I see that box in my mailbox, I'm going to take it, I'm going to throw it in the garbage, I'm going to stomp on it, and she'll get over this.
Right.
Then that box comes to the house.
Oh, here you go.
And then,
I'm going to try not to cry.
And for those who are out there listening, her daughter at the time was excited because now she's getting what she wants. She's getting the testosterone.
Yeah.
So she's waiting. It's like a kid for Christmas, waiting every day for this box to arrive. And she's telling her mom, the box is coming, the box is coming. The box comes and mom gets the box.
Every time I say this story, I cry. I don't know why. I just hated what that box represented. And people, they see me cry yesterday, and they were like, "Oh, she's still, dealing with." I just remember the feelings that I had that day because I struggled so much, and I had to pray about it. I literally had to pray about it. Thank you, Heineken. And I had to say a prayer, and I was like, I'm going to throw this out. I had it in my hand. I literally, because the day before, she was like, oh, it's coming tomorrow. She would keep track on the USPS.
So you had an ETA of when the box was coming.
Yeah, because she was so happy. That was what she talked about all the time. So she's like, it's coming tomorrow. So when she said that, I was like, oh, yeah. I'm going to get this box, and I'm going to smash it. And it came, and it took everything in me not to smash the box. And I said a prayer, and I was like, God, please speak to me, because I'm at a point right now, I'm gonna lose it because I don't accept this.
Right.
And I said it yesterday, and I'm not gonna even lie, like I heard a voice say, don't do it.
Oh, wow.
Don't do it. Because that's going to make your child so happy. This is what is making them happy. And at the end of the day, as a parent, that's all we want for our kids. To be happy. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I took the box, and I remember writing a note on it. And I don't even remember what it said, but I wrote on it, and then I texted him. And I said, your box is on the dining room table. And I had to leave. Because I was like in my own emotions, and I was like, I don't want him to see that. I don't want him to see like I'm so upset, because at the end of the day, my goal is to keep my kids happy. Right. So that was my biggest struggle that day.
Let me ask you this. Where was his father at the time?
Absent. Okay. I don't even talk about, I never even mention his name. I always reference him as my boyfriend at the time.
I see.
I never mention him. He is not somebody who took care of his kids. He paid his child support only because I put him in jail so many times.
I see.
So I don't even give him that shine. I haven't talked to him since like 1998. Wow. I only know he's alive because I get along with his family.
I see.
I get along with his cousins, his mom. So they call me and they reach out all the time. But I don't even speak to him.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Planned Parenthood. Reproductive rights are human rights. Planned Parenthood invites you to join them in the fight for affordable birth control for all, because access to birth control should not be a luxury. Get involved by texting Casey to 22422. No one should be able to take away your access to birth control, not politicians and not your boss. Again, text Casey, CASEY, to 22422, and Planned Parenthood will periodically text you, always to fight back. Message and data rates may apply. Now, you know what was heartbreaking when she was telling the story? You started looking back at yourself, thinking that this is something that you did. You know, you started looking at, you know, the situations that. Well, talk about some of that, because you thought that this situation was caused by the way you raised her.
Right. Well, not the way I raised her, but the things that I had her around. Mm-hmm. So because I had them so young, you have to understand, I was in a relationship at 14 with somebody who was 24. A lot of people don't know that, and I don't say that in my book. Because then it kind of gives clues as to who the person might be, and people who know me from back in the day know who I'm talking about.
Right.
So this is somebody who was 10 years older than me that took advantage of a young person.
Rape is that statutory rape.
Right.
Absolutely.
And my parents, my father really, wanted to do a lot of things at that time to destroy to him.
I can imagine.
And my uncles and my cousins won, but I have to take.
In love.
I was in love, and I have to take accountability that I lied about my age. I said I was older than what I was, and I was developed.
At first, I'm sure.
Right,
there had to come a time where he knew.
When I was pregnant is when he found out how old my first son, Marquise, was when he found out how old I really was. And so it was like the damage was done already. So it was like we just kept that relationship, but he knew his power at that point.
Right.
And so I stayed because, not for nothing, back then he was taking good care of me. You know, he was a street dude, you know? So it was like, she's having my kid. I had his only 2 kids. To this day, he hasn't had any other kids. You know, so he took care of me, but it was when we actually broke up after I felt like, you know, like, I don't glorify that in my book either. I don't glorify the things that he did, because I think what he did for me before we had kids is totally different than who he became once I had my children.
I see.
So I don't glorify anything that he's ever did, because I don't think kids need to see that, because it just glorifies the whole drug dealer thing, and I'm not doing that. So
before you continue, can you just share the name of your book?
Oh, yeah. How I Came to Accept Him, Loving Your Child for Who They Are.
Okay.
And Kim Osorio wrote the foreword. Yeah, my girl.
Okay, go ahead. So,
now, what gave you the strength to leave? Because, you know, you were young, and most times in relationships,
you trying to have me give away the whole book?
No. There's a little bit, but I just want to know what gave the power, because a lot of women a lot of people email us all the time and hit us in a DM and say they're in a relationship, they don't know if they should leave or how do I leave. And your situation seems like that should be awfully hard. I mean, you were 14 when you met him, he was 24, so he had power over you mentally.
Of course.
You had 2 kids, so he had power over you financially, because if he was supporting you. So how did you just say, you know what?
And emotionally.
And emotionally.
How
did you just say, you know what? Enough's enough?
Well,
and what was it that made you want to leave him?
Well, he was very abusive.
Physically?
Physically.
Wow.
Like, I would go to school, I was still in high school, and I would go to school with black eyes, and I would tell other people, I would tell other people that I had a fight with a girl.
Right.
And she just got the best of me. Because I was always fighting anyway, because with that comes women that he was dealing with, and, you know, here I'm a young girl.
And maybe girls judging you for having children so young or something. So I could see how you might have been targeted in different ways.
Oh, so many ways.
Yeah.
So he was abusive. So I always felt like I knew he didn't love me all the way. But for some reason, I don't know why, in my little brain, I wanted to stay because I liked the look. You know, I liked what it represented. And I was ignorant. That's just what it is. But I remember what made me leave is he called me one day, and it's in the book. He called me one day. He said, I want to take you to go see my grandmother. She wants to see the kids. And I was like, all right, cool. And at this point, we were like, I lived in Long Island. He was still back and forth from Queens. And, you know, I was trying to see, like, is it going to work? Or, like, I was, like, 1 foot out already. But I was still trying to make work for the kids. Even at that young age, I knew I had to try to do something for the kids.
At this point in time, how old are you?
Me, I'm, like, 18.
18, go ahead.
About 18. And he was like, let's go for a ride. You know, his grandmother lived in Brooklyn. So I was like, all right, let's go take the kids. So he said, I got to stop at my cousin. I don't know what I called her, but I'm not going to say her real name. I have to stop at my cousin's house. She has to give me something. So I'm like, all right, cool. We get to his cousin's house, and he's like, I stayed in the car waiting because he said it was like real quick. And I see him coming out with these bags, like garbage bags, and he's putting it in the trunk. I'm like, is he putting what I think he's putting? You know, he's putting drugs in the car, in the back of the trunk. Bags, like pounds.
He was
like,
serious. Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, understand why I was loving that look because of the things I was getting. So I was dealing with a lot of things because I felt like the bigger picture was, I'm cool, I'm straight.
With the kids in the backseat.
With the kids in the back seat.
Right.
I didn't know this is what we were doing because that's something he did on his own time.
Right.
And I was never a part of that life. I was the one that was home with the kids, going to school because I was still in school. And I see him putting the bags in the trunk, and I'm like, what? Like, he's really doing this. And then he went back in the house, and then like this mysterious girl, I don't know who she is to this day, she jumps in the back seat with kids. And I turn around, I'm like, who the fuck are you? And then he jumps in the car and he starts driving. And I'm like, who the fuck is this girl in the fucking car? And he is like, don't worry about that. I'm doing such and such his cousin a favor. I'm taking her to the train. She's only going to be in the car for a few seconds. But you put a nondescript girl, not only drugs, but you put on top of that a nondescript girl in the backseat with our kids. Like, I don't know her. So he drops her off at the train. And I was like, we didn't even go to where we were supposed to go, to his grandmother's house. And so we're on Southern State because now it's late. He just wants to go home. So in my head, I'm thinking, you brought me and my kids in this fucking car to just pick up drugs. We had no intention of going. So I already knew he didn't give a fuck about me. He didn't give a fuck about me. He didn't give a fuck about my kids. So now I'm mad. And for the first time, it's like, I'm ready to fight you because you jeopardizing everything that I have. And the only thing I have at 18 is my kids. So
you felt like he did that just kind of as...
I think, in thinking and looking back at it, I think he did that in a way to blow people off, to make it seem like he was with his family.
So it wouldn't look suspicious. Clearly. That's exactly, like, as you're telling the story, I'm thinking to myself, they're never going to make it to the grandmother's house. You know,
we never did.
Yeah.
We never did. It was just for the look. And so we're arguing on the Southern State. And I'm like, I didn't touch him. But I was like, and we're going back and forth. And then out of nowhere, he slaps my face. But it was like so hard, like I thought he punched my face. So my kids, like the abuse was there, but the kids never witnessed it.
Right. Until this time.
So now they're like, we're stuck in this little vehicle, you know, and they're seeing it. So my kids jump up and they start grabbing his hand because now at this point, after he slapped me, like I was ready, I slapped him back. Like it was just, he slapped me so hard that my only reaction was to slap him back.
That was your reflex.
But he caught the side, my hair was long, I had like a Egyptian thing, and he grabbed my hair and he started bashing my head onto the dashboard. And the kids are screaming, and he turned around and he said, y'all sit your motherfucking asses down or I'll kill you. I knew right then I was done. That's your flesh and blood. Like, we created that. And you telling them you're gonna kill them?
Yeah.
I was done. And so we're swerving, and God was on my side that day because I always felt like if the cops would have stopped us on that Southern State, I would have lost my kids. I would have been in jail.
Absolutely.
I would have been in a real bad.
Right.
It was a lot of, it wasn't just like,
right, it was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Now,
and I talk about that in the book.
I want to wow. That's crazy. I want to go back to your son now. And the reason I really wanted you to come, because I know there's a lot of people that go through it and don't know how to understand or talk to their child when their children go through things. You know, the sad part is when we were raised, we're pretty much the same age. You might be like 10 years older than me because I'm really young.
We're born on the same day.
I know. We're both September 3rd.
There's a lot of September 3rds out there.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day when if you were gay, your parents and that time they looked at you as horrible. So you were raised into
It wasn't as accepted as it is
or
now.
spoken about.
Yes.
Or spoken about.
Yeah. Society and culture hasn't didn't evolve at that point. We're at a completely different place now where it's understandable and people's hearts are open. But back then, it was a different day. It was a different time.
It was more like a secret.
And it was
like you knew your uncle was
Not only
gay,
that, let's be real. It was something that families would be ashamed of.
Right.
And that's
back in the day,
and that's the truth.
Because
it's if you had a gay family member, you kind of kept that quiet. You didn't want to share it.
You made excuses. If you had a gay cousin or a gay family member, it was like, oh, he was touched as a kid,
or something.
It was something. So now let's go back to your son. So now he gets his testosterone and he starts the procedure of becoming a man. How do you deal with him now? You don't want to deal with it, you don't want to talk about it, or now when do you start being accepting to it?
And how did you get to that point?
It took me, I'm not going to lie to you, 4 to 5 years to fully come to this place where I am today. Because at some point I moved out of that house that we were living in, and I left it to my mom. And then me and my husband got our own spot. But Kamal still lived there. So I would call, and every day I heard the voice change. Like sometimes I would think it's Marquise on the phone. And I would start crying on the phone. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I would hang up.
Because you were losing something that was familiar to you.
Right. It was literally like a child was dying and somebody else was coming along. And I didn't like that.
Let me ask you this. Did his personality change?
Never.
See, the personality didn't change. It was the same person, but the voice may have changed and the appearance may have changed.
That's what I talk about.
But you didn't notice a difference in who he was as an individual.
No.
Okay.
That never changed.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. Like I was saying yesterday, I'm like, Kamal still loves pizza, still loves hugs and kisses, you know, from his brothers and sisters. He still loves to crack jokes and make fun of how people dress, you know. So the personality didn't change. It's just the physical.
Right.
And that's what I had to accept.
Right.
And it's hard for a lot of people.
That person wasn't really dying. It was just your perception at the time was as though that person was dying and a new one was being created. I understand.
Wow. So now you understand, and now with this process, you start really going through the process with him. Now, how was going through that process with him, seeing him change? Because he changed right in front of you. His appearance changed, I should say. Yeah,
it did. I mean, he has more beard than a Muslim man in Philly.
Right.
You know, so it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like the beard is there. This is gone. When, like I was saying yesterday, the last time, because I've been on Breakfast Club now 3 times. So the second time that I was on here, I came with Kamal. And Kamal had breasts still, but he was wrapping them down. Now there's no more.
So now the procedure, I asked, I was very curious. The procedure to change from a woman to a man is about $250,000.
Yeah.
Now that means cutting off the breast.
No, the breast was something different. Gender reassignment is $250,000.
Oh, so just for him to have a penis is $250,000.
Yes.
So for him to have a working penis, meaning it gets hard, it gets erect, he can use it to go to the bathroom.
Really?
It's $250,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
How do they do that?
So what they do is they take your skin.
Because I know that everyone listening is curious.
Right.
Because I've never actually spoken to someone.
So you put your arm out and they take the skin from right here, from your elbow to your wrist, and they do a skin graft. And it's kind of like they roll it up and they put it there. And they do something, whatever is inside of us, they pull it out, put it into that. And so you urinate like a man, you get erect, and all the stuff that men do.
So the nerves are there, the
nerves
sensation
are there.
is there, sex is enjoyable.
From what I was told,
as though
it's a man.
As though he was born with it.
Right. Exactly. It took a long time to heal.
Of course.
So the first procedure that he got was removal of the breasts. That I think was like $10,000, because it's not like just saying, going to the doctor, hey, take off my breast, that's it. It's a specific procedure where they have to cut off tissue, because, you know, breasts regrow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like a woman, like I can get a breast reduction, but there's always a chance your breast can grow and come back. So your breasts grow. So for a woman, he had to go to a specific doctor, which was in Ohio, and have his breasts removed so that they won't grow back. And then when it healed, it looked like, you know, the curve of
like
a man's chest. Yes,
right.
like pecs.
So wait a minute. Your son got pecs?
Yeah. He works out.
Rochelle wants to know who his doctor was.
I'm about to take off my breasts and get some other effort.
You don't have no titties. Stop it.
All right. So now, what's your relationship now? And does he respect you more because you went through it with him and you went through the ups and downs? Like, how are you guys
And when you
now?
say with him, how with him was you actually?
I was with him. Mm-hmm. I support my child in anything. I may have not agreed along the way, and I may at times have voiced that non-agreement, but at the end of the day, it was coming from a motherly place. Like, I'm more concerned now with his regular life and how people might perceive him and his safety.
Let me ask you this. At what point did you accept it?
At what point? I think when he got the breast removal.
Okay, so at that point you said...
I was like, whatever, this is like the done
He's
deal.
doing it. I have no choice but
Right.
to support him and go along with it with him and be a support system. Okay. So,
But I didn't finance anything. I made that very clear.
How did he afford that?
A
young person,
Probably still
$250,000.
paying for it now.
Yeah, he's still paying, well, for the other one, for the other procedure. But he paid the breast removal with his taxes. My kid's been working.
Listen, a young person can get their hands on $10,000.
Yes.
I know people trying to buy a house that can't get their hands on $250,000. You know, that's difficult for a young person. I can understand if it was, someone that you said is 40 and saved,
Right.
throughout their lives for this thing, this big goal, this big pie in the sky. But, for him to be able to afford that is like incredible.
Yeah, I had my kids working at a very young age because I always felt like if I kept my kids busy, their mind ain't going to be on
In the street.
in the street, so you keep them busy outside of school. All right, we're going to do this, and that. And it worked for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So despite that I didn't agree with the lifestyle choices, he was still active, working.
So he found a way.
He found his way, and he financed everything himself. He paid for the breast removal in cash up front on his own. So that's not even a bill. It was just the gender reassignment that he, took along. He got great credit, and he has a great job.
Well, let me ask you this. How was the emotional journey for him? Because I can understand him saying, I want this. This is where I want to be. This is how I want to look. This is how I want to feel. But going through the process and then getting there and then realizing you're a completely different person physically and you're attaining all the things that you wanted, how was that emotionally for him? Losing the female and becoming this male.
I think he, honestly, I never seen him unhappy.
Okay.
With his decisions with wanting to be a male. The only time that I really saw him unhappy was when he was younger, before I even knew the lesbian thing, because he gave me so many problems. Like, I was always in school, he was always fighting, he was disrespectful. I don't want to give away too much of the book, but I had to put him in a psych hospital because I thought something was wrong with him. But I didn't know what it was. So when this finally...
Trying to figure himself out.
Right, exactly.
Especially at that time. I think that if a kid came up in this day and age with the same feelings, they may have difficulty, I'm sure. But I think that parents are more aware and, like I said earlier, have more open hearts because it's so much around. There's so many other people like that around us. And I think that people are more accepting. So that person may come up differently than how someone from our generation may have come up. I don't think that they would necessarily deal with the exact same problems. And if so, I think it just might be a little bit easier because society is different.
Let me just tell people this, though, just as parents. If you have a child and you think your child is a little left, a little right, or you're not sure, before you bring them to any psych place, just make sure it's absolutely positively true. And the reason I say that is that is always on their record. I don't know if parents know that, but if you bring them to a psych ward, it's always on the record. Even if you brought them there and it wasn't true and your kid was just acting out for no reason and you didn't know what to do, that is always on their record and can always affect them. So just make sure that if you do prank them, it's for that reason and not just, I got a badass kid, this little won't listen. Just make sure that's the reason, because that is always on their record.
But it's so hard for parents to discern whether there's something genuinely wrong with their child as opposed to just having behavioral issues. I know
it's a tough decision.
And the flip side of that is that I think sometimes parents wait too long.
That's true too.
And the problem is so far gone that it turns into something really regrettable if you don't bring them to talk to somebody earlier on. So
a psychiatrist is okay, but it's something else
No, I think a psychologist might be okay. A psychiatrist right. can prescribe medication. So a psychiatrist, in like layman's terms, is like the more serious kind of doctor.
So if your son wanted to be a police officer and you took him to a psychiatrist as a kid, there's a good opportunity that he won't make it because he went to a psychiatrist.
Not necessarily true, because Kamal, I almost caught me tripping, is in law enforcement.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. That's what I was
in a very high rank. That's why he's able to afford these things. But
can you get me a PBA card? I keep getting
pulled. Carolina, maybe.
I keep getting pulled over all the time. And
in New York, forget it. That's why I moved out.
Oh, damn
The police don't mess with you in North Carolina. They really don't. It's like a breath of fresh air. But I took him to a hospital in Long Island that's specific for psych patients.
And that was and he was able to do everything. No problem.
He was there for a week.
Academy and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that the academy, for instance, may not see that, but it doesn't mean that they're going to judge a person as a result of that.
And then the age also. Okay. The age is it's like, all right, do we condemn this individual for doing something at 14? People change. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think the well-being of your child is the most important thing.
Right. So now, for all the parents out there that are listening and wanted to know, what would you advise to parents if they're dealing with a similar situation, something that they might not be able to handle? Because the way that you dealt with it, I just thought was amazing. That you had your doubts at first and you had this conversation with God and you was able to pull through, and then you were able to be a support system to your son, which I think a lot of parents would have a fucking hard time to do. That's why when you told me the story, I was like, this is freaking amazing.
Thank you. The only thing I can say is that it takes time. It's a lot of people, they see me because I bring Kamal around. People don't know that that's Kamal from the old episode of The Breakfast Club. I bring him around, and it took me a long time. I don't know. The only advice I can say is that you have, at the end of the day, this is a life that you created.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you stop loving your child? Like, you have pictures, you have memories, you do things with your kids, that bond is there. So I am not a person that can cut that off. Like if we're friends for 20 years and we have a falling out, I'm going to reach out to you. I might let you have a couple of days to blow off some steam, but I'm going to reach out to you because that relationship to me is important. Like, I don't know how people could be friends with somebody for 20 years and you have one disagreement and then, I'm not dealing with them no more. Right. How does that work?
But how do you do that? Because if I'm Kamal, I don't want them pictures anymore. That's not me. I'm a different person. I don't want my baby pictures. I don't want me as a girl. I don't want me playing with dogs.
I deal with that.
But his mother
That's a struggle to this day.
But his mother is
this
is still who I birthed.
Because as a mother, you can appreciate the before and the after.
Right, but you know what? That's a little bit of a problem that I have to this day. And so out of respect, I have taken down all the old pictures.
Okay.
Because I don't want a stranger walking into my house and saying, "Oh, this little girl's so cute. Who is that?"
There's confusion and questions.
And then that whole story. And I don't feel like I want to give anybody that whole story.
Right.
So I have taken that down, and only recent pictures are up in my house. But they're in my photo album.
No, I mean,
Mom, that was...
Mom, you could keep it in your photo album, but that's all it's going to be. In the photo album, family reunion, you could bring it up. In the family, all right, but different. But nah, that's not me no more. I don't want that up.
Right. And so that was an argument that we actually had because I had an old family photo that I had up. And it was just so cute because it was me, my husband. I had just had Lily and Bria. And Kamal was like... And this was a big picture. And it was like, as soon as you came into my house, it was like right there. And he was like, "Oh my God, you got to take that down." And I was like, why? One, I spent a lot of money to get that picture in that frame in the house. And it's like, now you have a problem with it. And it took me like 2 years to take that picture down because I just loved the picture.
Right.
And I was like, all right, I'll take it down.
How the siblings dealing with it?
Let me tell you, my kids are cool. Marquise didn't even care. Right? He's the oldest. He's going to be 26. He didn't even care. Mm-hmm. He was like, I don't care about this shit. Right. Like, but that's
how my kids would be.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you still have your sibling. Like you said, that personality didn't change.
Though, because my kids is like to this day. If I sharded, my kids would joke me if I sharded to this day. Like awesome. that's how my kids are.
Wonderful.
Like,
thanks for sharing.
I'm just
Thank you.
That's your business.
Very relevant information. Love the analogy. It's awesome.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
No, but Marquise sometimes if an argument happens and maybe Kamal might take it too far, Marquise be like, "You too emotional. You acting like a girl." Mm-hmm. Oop, you know, and they'll go and he be like, "Oop, you used to be," you know, and that'll get them going. But they're brothers and sisters.
But that makes me want to ask,
brothers.
Do you? Okay, so let me ask you this: when you look at Kamal, do you look at him, and does his siblings look at him as a male that used to be a female, or do you look at him as a male?
They look at him as a male.
See,
my younger ones don't really know. Like my 2-year-old and my 10-year-old, they probably don't even remember. Bria knows. She's 13.
But you and Marquise, you look at him like a male?
I do, because that's what I see.
Okay.
So to your eye, if I look at Heineken, and let's say Heineken at one point, then that's not the case. But I would never
nobody's trying to show shade at you, Heineken.
Let's use Envy. I would never look at Envy and think that at one point he was a girl. Mm-hmm. But
I would be a pretty girl. I just want to put that
I don't know. That's your business. But I'm just saying, like, even if you said that, I would be like, wow, that was a great job. Like, I wouldn't believe it.
See.
I worked with someone. Can I say it? No? Okay. Well,
got a lot of Instagram models.
Okay. So I worked with someone in a popular record label that was when I didn't even know. I'm not gonna. You know the record label. We're not gonna.
That was
say
a female that is now a male.
Yes.
Okay.
And I never knew. I never knew because the transformation was awesome. Like you would have looked at me like, no way.
Right.
You know. So that's how I look at Kamal now, because I see a handsome guy.
I see.
I don't see Khadijah. You know what I mean? I don't see that.
Gotcha. Wow.
That's in the book, though.
Well, tell them the name of the book.
Because the name has legally changed.
Okay.
Gil's like, oh my God, you said the name. No.
Yeah.
Tell them about.
I just had some heart palpitations.
Yeah, Gil almost had a heart attack.
Tell them about the book again. Tell them the name of the book.
The name of the book is How I Came to Accept Him, Loving Your Child for Who They Are. And you can find this book at any Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million. I just got a notification that they're sold out in Walmart.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
So happy for you.
They're sold out in Walmart. So that's really awesome.
So tell them again the name of it and where they can go get it.
How I Came to Accept Him, Loving Your Child for Who They Are.
And God bless you. God bless you for having 6 children of your own and still extending your home and your heart to other children for their well-being.
Oh, thank you.
That is something that needs to be mentioned over and over again and be commended, because there are parents out there that have one child and struggle with activities and schools and meeting teachers and, giving emotional stability and, just nurturing that plant and watching it grow with one child. For you to have multiple children and then and find the time to do all of those things and
plus
to
do the
show
things
love
that I do.
And then to still have love spilling over that you can share with other kids. I mean, that's incredible.
Thank you.
That's incredible. We have 5.
You sound like Ange. Ange almost made me cry when she came to Charlotte. She was like, how the fuck do you do this shit?
We have 5 and we have help, and it's still difficult.
No, my house been fucked up the last 2 days because the cable's been out.
He is not telling anything but the truth.
Like, my kids can't watch no Paw Patrol. Like,
no Peppa Pig.
They love
so
Peppa
now
Pig.
It's where that might take a little bit of the edge off if we're doing something.
Like,
they
go
might
in
be,
the room, watch some TV.
Yes, now it's like full on. So, like I said, we have help, and it can be difficult and very time consuming, emotionally draining. Sometimes at 10 o'clock at night, we're both in bed like, whew. You know, so for
I know
you
that feeling.
to do that and to choose to do it and to do it for children that you did not create is amazing, and it just speaks to who you are as a person, as an individual, and as one of God's creatures. So.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ms. Vivian Billings, pick up her book everywhere you can buy
Say
a
it
book.
one more time.
Barnes and Nobles.
How I came to accept him, loving your child for who they are.
All right, Barnes and Nobles, Walmart, Target, wherever you need to go buy books, go get your books. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I'm DJ Envy.
And I am Gia Casey.
And I'm Charlamagne the God. No.
Say toodles.
Toodles.
All right, and shout to Planned Parenthood for sponsoring the Casey Crew podcast. Now, reproductive rights are human rights. Planned Parenthood invites you to join them in the fight for affordable birth control for all, because access to birth control should not be a luxury. The Trump administration recently rolled back birth control coverage, allowing employers to deny insurance coverage on religious or moral grounds. 62.4 million people across the country benefit from birth control. This is happening now. Now, to get involved, text Casey, C-A-S-E-Y, to 22422. Again, text Casey, C-A-S-E-Y, to 22422, and Planned Parenthood will periodically text you ways to fight back. All right? Message and data rates may apply.